Title belts to Hall of Fame. Doug and Tommy carved the name. Fists of fury and hearts of gold. Every story, every fight retold. Tales of glory, laughter, cry. Tennessee warriors with hearts open wide. In the ring or on the air, legends living without a care. On the mic they roar, on the mat they soar. Dangerous conversations, fans wanting more. Guys, kings ruling the waves. Memphis wrestling raising the stage.
Hey everybody, welcome back once again to Dangerous Conversations with Dangerous Doug Gilbert and Tommy Wildfire Rich. Today it is going to be the 10th question and answer episode where you guys have sent in your questions and Doug and Tommy are going to be answering them. I know you guys really enjoy these episodes, so how you guys been this past week since we last spoke?
Man, I've been great, Gene, and it's cool to do this, and you and Tommy are both going to laugh. I hadn't had a chance to tell either one of you, but I was on actually Monday night, the two-man power trip. Have y'all heard of that before, Gene, maybe? And with Paz in New Jersey and everything, and I was plugging the show, and I told him one of our favorite things to do. I told him we had a great time, whether we answered questions or not, but I told him some of the coolest stuff with some of the questions that come in while we was on here, and I got to listen to my perspective of it, but I knew mine, but then Tommy's would always be a little bit different than mine, and it was kind of cool just to listen to the answers that Tommy would give and I would give, and it was kind of a cool deal. But I told him for everybody to tune in after they got done watching his show and everything, and tune in and listen to us and everything. We had a good conversation about that.
Cool. Tommy?
What's up, guys? Y'all doing all right?
Doing great, man.
Doing great.
Man, it's been nice at the beach. It's a little cooler where you're at. It's not, well, you said it was really warm there the other day, right?
The other day it was, but today we didn't jump back down in the high 30s and low 40s.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. It's either, anyway, it's warm, but it's raining. So it's an old day, but what a great day to be on here with y'all, man. I always look forward to this. Coming out this coming Friday. I mean, we do it on different days, but it's always a pleasure to get on here and give a shout out to the fans, and especially you two guys. I was going to say clowns, but I won't do that yet.
He won't do that till we make him mad. But and then also, Gene, I was going to plug you and Tommy, which you know more about this than me and Tommy does. I'm supposed to next week be on a podcast called this. Have you ever heard of this? The Shining Wizard.
I've heard of it. I'm not familiar with it, but I have seen the name, advertising and things.
Well, they told me it's like a cool deal, but anyways, this is a ton of wrestling followers, so I was going to plug our show on it and talk with the guys a little bit, but I thought that would be cool to kind of plug also. Maybe I'm trying to make sure all this stuff that I'm on is actually cool stuff, so you or Tommy one got to tell me if something's not cool, because I'm not the hippest one of the bunch, y'all can tell.
Well, I don't know about cool, but I tell you what, last weekend before last, I was on the hot tamales.
And a cool thing about Tommy mentioning that, it's just now fixing to come out this coming week. And Gene, it's over with me, which a lot of stuff, the humor and stuff with different people, some people may love it like what I've seen of it that I love, but it's fixing the whole thing that Tommy done, which probably he can tell you 30 minutes or an hour long, however long it is. All of it is coming out next week. Now I've seen some reels of it, just 15 seconds here and there. And I told Tommy it freaking really got over with me and everything. But I mean, all of it will be coming out this next week. So y'all get to see Tommy and his main man, Hot Tamale, next week, the whole show live.
I had heard of the show, but I finally saw those clips, and it wasn't what I was expecting at all. So kudos, Tommy, for playing along, and I'm looking forward to seeing the whole thing.
Oh, hey, what I've saw so far, Tommy's over with me, because the rest of the guys, I laughed. He looked at him and said, "Man, you ain't no wrestler." I laughed when he said that. Have you seen any of those clips, Gene? I laughed. That's some of the funniest stuff. Which the only thing he'd ask Tommy about his career, and he'd say, "Man, what are you so mean for?" And I popped. Well, Tommy tell him why and everything. That was really cool. I liked it.
Yeah, it's a completely different podcast than anything you've ever heard. So make sure you check that out when it comes out. We'll share a link to it on our Facebook page for sure. And so there you go. Doug's going to be showing up on the Shining Wizard podcast. And Tommy, did you tell me you're booked on the Grand Wizard podcast soon or something like that? Or is that? Oh, that's not wrestling, is it?
Hey, that same person told me about Mommy's girl. I told you that.
People are spreading vicious rumors. It would appear of getting bad intel.
Yeah, I've been called Mommy's boy, right? Mommy's girl.
That's funny.
Yeah, I think I remember Jimmy Valiant calling you that back in the day. But
Well, he may have.
all right. Well, hey, before we get going, I just want to remind everybody, we mentioned it last week, but Doug and Tommy are going to start doing some Cameo-style videos for folks, but you don't have to go through Cameo. They're expensive. They add extra fees and all that stuff on, and Tommy and Doug don't want to put you through that. So we're going to be handling this in-house. But if you want, whatever you want, if you want them to wish you or a family or friend happy birthday, congratulations on your new job, I hope they'll be sending me a video like that soon. Or if you want them to cut a promo on you, like they're going to come after you Monday night at the Coliseum, and you and your buddy is who they're looking for. Anything you can think of. Well, I don't want to say anything. There may be some limits, but I don't know. Tommy told me before this that he's kind of removing some of those limits, and they'll do promos. He'll go out on dates with people. He'll go dancing. He'll sing at your wedding. So if you got an idea, send it my way, Doug Gilbert Podcast at Outlook.com, and we are willing to talk about and negotiate most anything, right, guys?
Well, that's it, Gene. And that's like, hey, ladies and gentlemen, too, something it's in the works right now. But you remember back in the day when Ricky Martel and myself, you could win a date with? We're having one maybe on here with Gene and myself. You can win a date. So, hey, don't miss it. Be there now. Hey, one and only chance.
Hey, and I guess if the date is with Tommy and Gene, I might can come be the chaperone. Y'all think that would work?
Yeah.
There you go, see?
Yes.
And don't forget, Gene, for everybody listening, that we still have our Memphis Mafia gear, our Memphis Mafia T-shirts, our Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert, the Uncrowned King of Professional Wrestling 30th year anniversary still is just came out and everything. But we have our Memphis Mafia shirts, and believe me, the Memphis Mafia is still going to be in action this year in different states and everything. And me and Tommy both got a few calls, and we got to get back to some people. We're going to get out there and get back busy again.
Hey, and if you hadn't read that book about Eddie Gilbert, you better pick it up and read it, because it's one heck of a book. If you like wrestling, that's what it's all about.
It's sure about the history of wrestling and the history of my brother's life. It's a cool read.
Very, very proud of that book. I'm glad it's out there now, and it's getting such great feedback on Amazon. People just sending messages directly to us saying how much they enjoyed it and the different aspects of Eddie's career that maybe they didn't know about. And
And you know what? That Hot Tamale knew a little bit about Eddie's career because he quizzed Tommy on that. So when everybody gets a chance to watch this, you'll get to hear a little bit about that also.
He saw the famous double turn there where Eddie turned and then turned again, and he said he loved it when Tommy got his head, ran into that ring post. And I thought Tommy was going to jump up and slap his teeth out. You didn't take too kindly to that, did you?
Hey, what did Tommy say? You loved it? And what did he say? Yeah, man, I loved it.
Next thing I thought Tom was going to say is like, do you see who's sitting across from you right now? There's no one in this room that's going to stop this. But kudos. Yeah. Hot Tamale's got some guts. Like you said, Doug, I've seen clips of several of those interviews, and he's telling you ain't no wrestler. Why you say you're a wrestler? You ain't a wrestler. Yeah. Good stuff.
That's like me. I got prepped for it because I had to do this thing with you. You had me there a couple of times, want me to smack you too, Gene. I just let you know now.
See, I'm smart enough to do mine from Alabama while you're in South Carolina. Hot Tamale invited you to his freaking house. That was kind of a bad move on his part.
Oh, And when I knocked them dolls off, I was fixing to drop an elbow, but I realized I was.
I saw you. I was like, oh, man, don't smash his dolls. He's going to get fired up here. It's going to be a problem.
Tommy would have destroyed the whole set, and everybody would have had a breakdown.
That's right. Burning it up. What a podcast for Tommy to go on. They call it Burning It Up. Wildfire. It's perfectly made for Tommy Wildfire Red. Well, let's get into these questions. I know people are like, what are you guys talking about? We want to hear our questions answered, and we've got quite a few. Frankie Rogers sent this one in. He said, how do you guys rate Michael St. John as an announcer? Clearly, he's no Lance Russell, but I felt he brought more to the table than Corey Maclin and some of the others, not including Dave Brown over the years.
You know what? It's funny you asked that, Gene. I just run into Michael in, where was that? Not Tullahoma, but right up there by Tullahoma. Remember when I went to the fair show, Gene, with Bo James up there? I'm trying to think what town. You would probably remember the town. But it's not Tullahoma, but up that direction and everything. But anyway, I run into Michael. He come out. I was signing some stuff. A lot of people brought different things, and I was signing stuff. And I looked up and I seen him, and I said, "Hey, Michael, how are you doing?" He looked at me and he shook my hand, and he kind of looked off. And I thought, well, that's kind of strange. And he looked back at me and he said, "Doug?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Man, I didn't even realize who you was." And so he sat down and he started talking. But Michael is a super nice guy, and he's got a great mind for the wrestling business and sports. He's actually a sports type guy, I think, also, and everything. And I mean, he's just overall, I think his whole life he's been a journalist, right? Gene, do you know Michael very well? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I know of him. He's always been a journalist. He's been in radio, and he actually, unless something's changed, he owns a radio station here in Alabama, right up the road from me in Arab, and also does stuff through the Huntsville group up there.
Well, that's what I think. He's tied in with quite a few stations, but he's always been a really nice guy and a gentleman, and he's a real smart guy. Now, on the other hand, and this is, I'm sure, not going to knock nothing that he's ever done, but I thought at times in which Tommy will probably have a say on this, I know he will, I thought he was a little bit drier than some of them, but now I liked him. His knowledge about wrestling was, to me, a world better than you said, like Corey Maclin or some of them. His knowledge about wrestling was a world better than theirs was, so he knew how to call matches and everything. But like I said, to me, he might have been a tad dry, you know what I mean, as far as dry, his humor and everything like that. But I thought he was really good and really good for the show, and he always really looked really good and really professional to me.
Yeah, I mean, like Dougie said, I mean, he's very knowledgeable of the wrestling, so his points was always good. A little dry, maybe. No Lance Russell, but dang, give him some credit, G. Ah, dang.
Oh, I thought he was great as Dave Brown's sidekick.
Wait a minute, it's my time. From the worst one, your best one was Corey Maclin. That's, he ain't very good at all if he wasn't no better than Corey Maclin.
Well, that's what it's the reader or the listener that sent that in. I didn't make up the question. It just said he said he felt he was better than Corey.
I mean, I'm just saying you didn't give him a very high mark to be ahead of. I'm saying my opinion is, I mean, he might have been a little dry, but he was better than Corey Maclin, not less.
Which says a lot, because I know you were a tremendous Corey Maclin fan back in the day, and
Tommy sure was.
Worked for his promotion.
We might not now, but he is what it is. But I mean, Corey.
Hey, do you still talk to him every once in a while, Tommy?
No.
Yeah, me and Tommy talk about twice a week in there.
I was fixing to say, if him and Tommy talk, man, you better get off here, Gene.
Yeah, he's he got a phone line.
You think he's looking down at you, Tommy?
No. Or you think he's looking up at you?
That's a coin toss.
Nobody knows for sure.
Hey, what?
He just, I hate to speak. See, I wasn't even going to say nothing about him being gone. See, that's why I was talking past tense. But anyway, you asked me about Michael St. John, and you used Corey as an example, and I just think he was better than him.
Hey, Gene, what was it? What would Corey always say? It was the same thing every time though. What?
Big move was his main. Like he didn't know what half the moves were called, so somebody hit a backdrop, go big move, but he'd always add in there. Like when we started doing the '93 show, we started noticing that. And I was like, guys, if we made a drinking game out of every time Corey says in there on a Saturday morning, we would be shithoused before the first break. Like, wow.
What
I
about
did not notice that.
And wasn't everything ridiculous or what?
Ridiculous. So we were watching an episode. It was like his second time ever being on there. He wasn't a regular yet. He was filling in because both guys, Dave's daughter was getting married and Michael St. John had like a kidney stone or something, they ended up saying. So Corey and Lawler called the show, and this was Corey's second time doing it. And the Texas guys had gotten there and put a plastic bag over Robert Fuller's head and is trying to smother him to death on live television. And Corey is pacing around upside down, up inside the ring after they get the bag off his head. He's just going, man, oh man, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. They try to choke that man on TV. They try to kill. Oh man, it's ridiculous. Just over and over and over. I thought I was going to die. And then afterwards, they come back from the. This has nothing to do with Corey, but I thought this was funny. They smothered Fuller with the bag. They thought he might be dead. They come back from the break. There isn't an EMT or even a fake medic anywhere to be seen. Danny Davis is doing chest compressions while Bill Dundee is giving him mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. The wrestlers revive him. There's not even a referee in there helping. It's all the wrestlers revive Robert Fuller from being smothered with a plastic bag and take him back to the dressing room.
Medical license, if I'm not mistaken.
Who?
I know Bill.
Oh, I'm sure Bill's certified.
Bill was registered to do CPR.
I think that's still what he's doing today.
Yeah.
As far as he knows, but yeah, I just thought that was pretty funny though. That all these wrestlers are out there trying to save this dude because they didn't. I mean, there was nobody even like a polo shirt who could have acted like they were some kind of medic, you know.
I was fixing to say what he must be like better than me and Tommy. I remember us just coming back from break. Let's just be laying there, nobody even helping us. So I guess he was like better than we was.
Somebody get him out of the ring so we can get the wrestling in there. So our next question, and listeners, if you're listening to this, please do me a favor personally. If you can use better examples in your questions for good and bad, it'll help me out with Tommy because Tommy's still blaming me for you using because Frankie Rogers used Corey Maclin as the high water mark of announcers.
Yeah,
so.
Frankie.
And listen, fellas, y'all also know if you want to hear Michael St. John a little bit, he's on. It's like a live show, ain't it, Gene? On Randy Hill, he's on with Randy Hills a lot weekly, and Michael will come on there and talk with him. And Michael told me that they have some interesting conversations through the years from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and everything. So I imagine that's pretty interesting. Listen, if you want to listen to Michael and Randy sometime.
I have him over there, but I don't let him talk. But he's there, but I don't let him talk. Paul Johnson asks, Tommy, I was looking at WCW results from 1991, and during that year, you wrestled an interesting array of opponents on house shows and TV tapings, such as Larry Zbyszko, Johnny B. Bad, One Man Gang, The Diamond Stud, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, Black Bart, Stan Hansen, PN News, and tons more. Do you have any memorable stories from any of those 1991 WCW matches, and do any of those names bring anything to mind?
Yeah, bring Jim Crockett's name to my mind. Yeah, that's when he took over, and I wasn't on his good side too much. Yeah, I got to wrestle the worst of the worst. No, Big Stan, man, I remember when he first come to when it was Georgia Championship wrestling. Stan was a great guy. You know, I hear him tell him, well, I was on the other end of it too. Without his glasses, he kind of like Bob Armstrong, the bullet. You know, they can't see without him, you know, but I mean, they dance just smooth they want to, but when Stan throw that Laird, he'd tear your head off. But any other time, he's pretty smooth, you know. So I don't know if they just wanted everybody. I believe that Laird Stan Hansen.
Well, I think Tommy believed in it during them days because if I'm not mistaken, Tommy got off about 2 or 3 weeks in 91 because of Hansen, didn't you? Didn't you have a? Well, I don't want to say it's an injury, but I think maybe kind of an injury, wasn't it, Tommy? Didn't you? Wasn't you out for a couple of weeks? And what was it with you and Stan or something? That your neck or your back or something. But the good thing was during '91 was the contract years and everything, and everybody was getting paid. But I was going to say now, don't nobody want to get hurt. And the last thing I want to do is talk about Tommy getting hurt. But it seems like I remember during that one of them times him working with Stan, I remember talking to him, and he was off for a couple of weeks, and he said, "Gosh, his neck or his back won." But at least that was during time, like I said, the contract time where your checks kept on coming every week, so you didn't have to really worry about not working.
But sometimes you work.
Now, some of them other guys you was talking,
that would be good to take some of that sick leave. Of course, back during that day, we didn't get paid if we didn't put no butts in the seat. We wouldn't get paid. So that's what Doug is talking about. We was on contract.
Yeah.
You would think, that would be cool, but yeah, well, I just soon not got beat to death.
Yeah.
But Stan, I went to Japan with Stan and Bruce and Brody, and you talk about the Red Sea. I mean, they'd make crowds part here, but over there, they had them bull ropes and they'd swing them. I seen him and Brody both bit them Japanese folk. I wouldn't have moved.
Yeah.
They'd get up and run again. Yeah, I mean, it was, yeah. I mean, and then the Stan used to go, they turned babyface. We used to go down to the D4s together, and he wasn't a big party guy, but after it was over, he was wanting to go more than I was.
and what Gene? What was a couple of those other names that you named?
Black Bart. Wrestler Black
Oh,
Bart.
Bart. I was fixing to say you had to love Bart, Tommy. He was great. I love Bart.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Good person to be around too. I mean, he was cool. He was worker and nice and easy. I mean, yeah, he could dance now. But
and like
there's Zbyszko now. I wrestled him for an hour and a half Broadway in Cleveland, Ohio, one night.
Wow.
At that great big old building on the water, the auditorium. Boy, it was a big old nostalgic. I mean, it'd been there since, I don't know, at least the 50s, maybe the 30s. But it was cold. It was wintertime. That building, I don't care how much heat they had, it stayed cold. And I wrestled him for an hour and a half. Yeah, Larry was a heck of a worker.
Yeah, there was I went back and looked at some of these results after he said this, and was looking at some of those matches. Like, you worked Rip Morgan here in Gadsden around that time, which I thought was an interesting opponent. But
Rip Morgan, he was one of the New Zealanders.
Yeah, I like Rip.
Yeah, I did.
He started out waving the flag for the sheep herders.
What was his name? His
Rip.
name?
Jack Victory.
Jack Victory. That's right. It was Rip and Jack. That's right.
Yeah, so they was two of the guys. Eddie would try to take care of them as much as he could when they was around the territories he was in. Eddie really liked them, and they was really good guys, and they really worked hard. And man, they was just enjoyable. And that's what I was fixing to say a while ago when Tommy was talking about Black Bart. How we say, I tell people when Tommy comes in the room, and people ain't in the best mood or whatever. Usually we get people in a better mood and everything. Bart was one of those type people too. I mean, Bart was funny. He'd stay to himself, but once you got him going, man, you're talking about a good fella. Which I'd stay when he had an apartment in Nashville when he worked here in this territory, and a lot of times I didn't stay with very many people. I'd always get rooms and stuff, but I'd stay at Bart's house every once in a while because he was just a fun guy to be around and stuff.
So something else that reminded me of reading through this question is I had watched an old Clash of the Champions from around this time, and Tommy, you was wrestling Scott Hall as the Diamond Stud, and he gave you that finish of his where he puts you like for a pile driver, then lifts you up on his shoulders, and then puts his hand under your armpits and pushes you up over his head and falls forward, and you land on the back of your shoulders and head. That looks like there's no way for that to not just absolutely suck. Is that as bad on you as it looks like?
Well, it would hurt a normal man. It would hurt. But in my situation, my case, just another day at the office.
It didn't. I'm going to tell you, it was a finish that didn't. I don't want to say it felt bad, but as he was giving it to you, it was like it could feel bad.
Yeah.
Or how you hit. Yeah.
Yeah.
just look out here, I mean, you're in his control too,
But and that goes back to if Scott liked you and everything, ain't saying that he hurt people he didn't like, but Scott was really nice. I mean, I've heard a lot of people have bad stuff or not so nice stuff to say about Scott, but he was always really nice to me. And I think him and Tommy got along very well, had a good relationship.
When I was at WCW, I'm up and down with that weight every now and then. But anyway, I get a little heavy, and I've traveled with him. As a matter of fact, anyway, he got me on the diet, and of course, he burned them carbs. Me, I didn't go to the gym. My deal was when I wrestled, that was my workout. But anyway, we went to Texas one time, and it was Scott Hall, Brian Pillman. There was 5 or 6 of them, Steve Armstrong, Nick Patrick, and maybe Tom Pritchard. But anyway, we stopped at that steak place, and it was a 64-ounce steak. If you eat it all and you eat all the trimmings and eat the whole steak, then you get it for nothing.
Right.
Yeah, you talking about the Big Texan in Amarillo.
I don't think we was in Amarillo, but
well, there's probably places around the world like more than that.
Well, we was in Texas. I mean, we went. I don't remember where we was at, but anyway, it was in Texas. But if you ate the trimmings and everything, and I'll never forget, we all just ordered something. Scott ordered the steak, and Brian Pillman ordered it too. And I thought, damn. But if you didn't eat it, you had to pay for it. It wasn't cheap either.
Right.
So they sit there, and I could see maybe Scott eating it if I'd have been betting, but I'd have never thought Brian Pillman could eat it, the trimmings and the steak and all. I mean, that come out, it looked like a piece of leg or something. It's so big. I mean, it was big, about that doggone thick and about that big around. And they both said that them people were so mad. And they had that steak place. They didn't figure neither one of them would eat it. Both of them ate it. Yeah, wow. They lost their butt on that deal.
That's awesome. So this next question, I think you guys will have some fun with. Logan Anson asks, guys, I'll admit I'm a younger fan, and I've grown up on modern wrestling. My idea of old school wrestling was from like 2012. Until just recently, my uncle, who is 50 years old, introduced me to 80s Mid-South wrestling, as well as 80s and 90s Memphis wrestling, which led me to your podcast as well as Gene's USWA podcast. So, guys, please help me understand something. What's the deal with these so-called tar and feather matches back in the day, where people would pour pancake syrup all over someone and dump pillow feathers on them? Was this like a huge humiliation back in the olden days? I just don't get it.
And I think like if you look at it, and for the guy that sent this question in, now when you're watching that, now I don't know, Tommy, I don't know what to reference.
Well, if you watched your history, even before wrestling, like if you done something in town wrong, but you didn't go to jail, they might tar and feather you back in them days.
Legit tar.
What?
Yeah. I mean, so that's something that's been around as far as that. Come into wrestling, that might just be a Tennessee thing. I don't know, but at least you didn't get tarred, because that tar would burn the heck out of you. I got my foot one time with that, and I ran. But anyway, the syrup just kept you from burning, and the feathers stuck to you. That's what it was. And it was a humiliation. I mean, would you like, even in today's world, would you like to get syrup and feathered?
That's what I was going to say, Gene. The thing that the humiliation part of it was the feathers sticking to you, like the pillows. We gimmick pillows with the feathers in them, but with them just stuck to you, look like a chicken. I think more like a bird or a chicken, right, Tommy? If you got, you got all that old sticky stuff to you, but then you put that on you and you look like a chicken or a bird one. And I mean, it's just, a humiliating, a form of humiliation that I think everybody would have thought. And I think that's the clearest way you could say it, probably like Tommy said in the old days.
Yeah, I think that was the main thing he needed right there, was he didn't understand that that was something from history that wrestling was drawing from. It wasn't an old wrestling gimmick. It was something from real life that made its way in. But you're not going to pour hot tar on another wrestler. So syrup, that'll sure make feathers stick. So
I mean,
you don't see a lot of those these days.
Just run over you with a car in today's world. If I'm gonna get humiliated, just please tar and feather me. Don't run over me.
Yeah, if you got two options, go with
Jerry Lawler, though. Now we're talking about it, didn't it?
Yeah, we sure did.
Yeah, and coming up on USWA where we're at, I think next week, Tom Pritchard and Miss Texas tar and feather, or syrup and feather, the Dirty White Girl, while Dirty White Boy is handcuffed to the ring post. And one of the people who come out to help make the save is Dirty Doug Gilbert.
Imagine that. That would be some good TV.
Yeah, it's fun. Coach BT asks, I really liked last week's episode, The Lost Art of Psychology. Gene and I have reviewed old territories where just simple psychology didn't seem to be used. World Class, for instance, was one of these shows where if you watch them now, there wasn't a lot of the normal psychology that you guys used in Memphis and most other areas. So he wants to know, at what point in your training were you guys ever specifically taught concepts like shine, heat, hope spots, comeback into a finish, or was that just something you picked up once you're in the ring and working with guys as it goes along?
Now, Tommy could tell you, and I think his probably started close to the same, but when I was trained by my dad and my brother, I was taught as far as bumping and doing the rolls, flat bumping, and then taught holds as far as, what you would use in the ring. But I was never actually, I guess, we want to say smartened up. I don't think, till I went and I was by myself, my dad or brother, neither one was with me. And of all people I had to work with, Tommy talks about him a lot on here, but in the first match when I was like 17 years old that I had, which I'd been training in the ring with my dad a lot and my brother a lot, was with Tojo Yamamoto. And then I was back in the Battle Royal at the end of the show. It was one of Eddie Marlin's spot shows that he called me to come and work for him. And it was the first time I'd ever worked for Eddie or Jerry Jarrett. And then I was back in Battle Royal with the whole bunch that was there. And that's when Bigelow was here, which I always really got along real well with him. But I was never taught, Tommy can answer this for you, but I was taught as I went. I wasn't trained to do all that or told all that during my training. The training was about taking bumps and, believe it or not, sit outs, trying to sit out and getting out from under somebody and everything. And then as far as locking up and then hitting the ropes and then hit a lock, but holds. It wasn't that the wrestling lingo was not in my training. Now, Tommy, what about your?
Jizine Zbyszko. It's a little carny for y'all. No. But remember a couple of shows ago we were talking about, the difference in the business back then and today's I think is choreographed, where ours was ad-lib. Like, we didn't even dress in the same dressing rooms. So a lot of the stuff, like I said, you had an opening, you had a heat spot, and then you had your finish. The rest you just ad-libbed, and like the question, a lot of that's, you can't be taught the psychology of the business just working out in the ring in front of nobody.
Yeah, but
learn that stuff by going out in front of a crowd. That's the only way you learn the psychology, or like when it's time, and we got to dance with some good people that would lead us too. It's like dancing. You got to have a leader and a follower. And back then, the heels, of course, we got in. That was the thing. We were like kids. And the heels a lot older and meaner looking, but they knew how to work too. And so you would listen. And just follow them. And then it was just taught to you, I guess. Some get a bit better than others. but it's a learning stage. I mean, you know your spots, like your opening, your heat spot, you finish. You know that, but all that in between stuff, it's like I was talking about Tojo, get me in the car, grabbing, just touching my ear and say, sell that, and be just halfway doing it, and then him grabbing it and go, I mean, it's just, it's the experience and learning it.
But Tommy, like the guy asked the question, was that ever said to you during your training when you was actually training, like when Tojo was training you, like, when y'all was just by yourself, was any of that stuff said? It wasn't said to me. I mean,
no, not really. I mean, the only thing I knew about selling, which of course you knew the heat and the comeback, we'll get the heat and then you make a comeback. You knew that, but just knowing the timing of it, no, it wasn't never taught to me. No.
Right.
I learned as we went along. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that was a question, right, Gene? Was we
exactly? So like you weren't in a barn on Jerry Jarrett's farm, and he's saying, "Get the heat." Now the hope spot. Like none of that was being said. You were like, because as late as 1997, when Sammy Hall trained me, he's from the same era as your dad.
I like Sammy,
and Sammy, that's how he trained everybody he trained. You learn the basics and bumping and how to do things safely, but it wasn't until you started getting in the ring and wrestling that you'd get in there with somebody, a veteran, and they would start teaching you that stuff. But what was messed up is like first few matches, you're in there with another guy you've been training with, and neither one of you really know what you're doing, and he's not smartening people up in the training. So there was this one guy in the training, always in training, Samuel, like when he's like doing drills for like bumps, he's like, get up, get up, get up, get up. So they put him in his first match, and all he knows is what he's been doing at the training. So every time Tony Dabbs would do a move on him, he would beat Tony back to his feet because in his mind it's get up, get up. Tony, I mean, he slammed him through the mat, did everything he could, would not stay down. And then when he tells him take it home, he has no clue what he's talking about.
He didn't have no idea about selling or nothing.
No.
But then again, during our days, Tommy's days, my days, and then like you're saying, the way Sammy trained people, that was to keep from smartening everyone up. And that was to try to keep from, if these guys wasn't going to stay in the business, from you smartening them up and them going out telling everybody else. So it was respect for the business to me, training guys that way.
Yeah, because if you had 10 guys there wasn't going to be but 2 that might stick around. Meanwhile, those other 8 are all going all over town exposing the business if they've been revealed everything. So that's a good point.
It's like Tommy said, it's like watching a magician. I mean, everybody's going to stay focused in on as long as they don't know what's going on. But when everybody's out running their mouth, telling all the secrets, and it's not that secret anymore.
The greatest thing, I'll tell this, we'll move on to the next question. This kid that was a big old football player from Pontotoc High School shows up while we're training with Sammy. And he's like, hey, man, I want to train to wrestle and everything. And Sammy's like, all right, well, we'll get you in there and see if you cut out for it. And that guy said, first thing I want to know before we do any of this, how y'all fake them steel chairs? And he said, well, I can show you better than I can tell you. And that guy said, okay. And he looked at me and said, Gene, get me a chair. And this was in an old schoolhouse. And there was these rusty old, just heavy, old steel chairs. I could barely fold it shut and hand it to him. And Sammy says, all right, bend down, put your hands like right above your kneecaps and bend down, brace yourself. And the guy said, brace myself. He said, you'll see. And he goes, all right, you ready for me to show you how to fake a chair shot? And the guy said, yeah. Sammy, he wasn't a big guy by then.
No.
He reared back with everything he had and brought that chair down right across the top of his shoulders and the back of that guy's head. And, of course, he dropped like he'd been shot and wallowed around the floor, screamed and hollered. He stood up. He said, you still want to be a wrestler? He said, I thought this shit was fake. He said, go tell everybody how you fake a steel chair shot. That guy got in his truck and got out of there.
That's what I'll say. One thing, Sammy was always, me and Sammy was friends. And that's one thing I can say about this, not a bad thing, but Sammy was one of the few people that was involved with a commission for umpteen years that I really liked and I would call my friend. Me and Sammy we always had any deals that we had seemed to turn out good, and Sammy was always a straight shooter with me.
Yeah, he was.
And I can see him doing that.
Yeah, he protected the business at all costs.
But you talking about getting in the ring, working against a green guy, like My first match was in Tupelo, Mississippi. And we got there, Jerry Bryant. You remember Jerry Bryant?
Absolutely.
One of my dad's best
Well,
friends.
we broke in at the same time, and he could throw the high drop kicks, and mine was more of a ground and pound. Of course, that was what I was taught to begin with anyway, which I couldn't throw no pretty drop kick, no way. But anyway, I draw Phil Hickerson my first match. But I got there, I spoke to the referee, and then Jerry Bryant acted like he's hurt, and they just didn't want me to worry about it all day. So anyway, I wrestled Phil Hickerson, and, you know, I was happy with it. I mean, it wasn't Madison Square Garden, but, you know, it wasn't no backyard stuff either. So we had a good match, solid. So next night, though, I wrestled his partner, Tank Patton, in Jonesboro, Arkansas. He'd been working 6 months, and, you know, Phil was probably 260, maybe even 270 back then. But he'd bounce and move like a 220. And but I wrestled his partner next night in Jonesboro, Arkansas, and it wasn't quite so pretty. I got to the bag, and I thought, maybe this ain't for me. You know, it worked out. But, yeah, I know what you mean about, you know, when you first – that's the reason I said, like, dancing. You know, you got to have somebody to lead. You get in there with two that don't know how to lead, and you're going to get two that don't know how to – kind of like some of these spot shows that I hear some of these promoters say, I didn't have to pay him nothing. Well, if they work for nothing, then you're not getting nothing. Zero is zero. To all of you backyard guys out there anyway.
And you know what, Gene, this is something, just a little history here. Like Tommy and Jerry Bryant started together. My dad and Jerry Bryant was great friends. Now, what they called myself and Tommy, the Memphis Mafia, when we wrestle. Mm-hmm. Jerry Bryant was part of a good tag team in Memphis. What was it called? Do you remember what it was called?
The Memphis Vice with Big Lou Winston. They come out to that Miami Vice music. That was awesome.
Yeah. Tommy, you remember Big Lou?
Uh-uh.
You don't remember Big Lou Winston? Him and Jerry was partners, and they give him a good little push, and they put some sequins vests on them, and they did look good, and Jerry could work good. I mean, like I said, y'all
work, you sell good.
Yeah, and my dad and Jerry was like best friends, Gene. My dad kind of took Jerry under his wing, and he'd always help Jerry. And after Jerry got sick, my dad would go every week and see him and everything. Man, Jerry was just he was a good human being, wasn't he, Tommy?
Yeah, oh yeah, Jerry, yeah. Me and him rode from you know, back then you used to ride with guys and pay them trans. Well, Danny Dusick, we'd wrestle in Johnson City. And so anyway, Jerry Bryant drove from Memphis to Nashville. And we met Danny Lucas. And anyway, we rode to Johnson City. Well, to Knoxville, it was interstate. But to Johnson City, which is about 110 miles, it was 2-lane. You know, some of it opened up into 3-lane. You could pass it. You know, but the trucks was on it. Anyway, we left. I mean, Jerry probably had to leave at 5 in the morning to meet Danny Ducey. At the time, he wanted to leave. Anyway, we got in with him, and we left early. But there was 5 of us in the car. And of course, we was the youngest, so we was in the back with somebody. I don't even remember who it was. And anyway, as soon as we got back, we both looked at each other. We said, we ain't doing that no more. The next time we went to Johnson City, me and Jerry went on our own. Yeah.
But yeah, Jerry was just, Gene, he was one of those good guys. I mean, a lot like Tommy. I mean, I'm sure that's why they got along so well. But Jerry was just a good laid-back country guy that done anything anybody asked, right, Tommy?
Yeah. Who broke? Didn't Lawler? He met Lawler or something.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Tommy was. This is what everybody said. Tommy was Jarrett's guy, and Jerry was Lawler's guy. That when they broke in together. Which see, I mean, you got a lot of. Or in Tennessee, you hear all the different stories as far as Jarrett put Stan and Steve together. Well, Lawler wanted to tag team, so he put Ricky and Robert together. But during all the different years, you see different ideas come together, and usually Jarrett had his ideas and Lawler had his ideas, but not saying any one was better than the other one, but usually a lot of them and a ton of them went on to draw a ton of money, like Tommy sitting here. And I mean, and the Rock and Roll did well. The Fabulous Ones did well.
But come on. Deal between Jerry Lawler and Jerry Jarrett, I think good because they both tried out, the other one. It was all business. But
right.
did something, the other one tried to do something better, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like competition, you know. I mean, so I think that was good, healthy. And the reason I don't remember Big Lou is because at that time, Jerry Jarrett, you know, he was running that, and he sent me and Tojo down to Nick Goulis's end so I could learn how to, you know, before he did an angle with me, he wanted me to learn what an angle was, you know.
Well,
He and Tojo, first angle I ever worked was with the Von Steigers. Me and Tojo did it on Chattanooga, Birmingham TV, both. They buzzed my head. I bled everywhere in the studio. Yeah. But he sent me down, me and Tojo down there, and got, you know, let me learn some. And that's like Doug, going back to what we were talking about before. I mean, the stuff in between the opening and the heat and the finish, you just about got to learn. And Jarrett sent me down there so I could learn.
There you go.
Yes, sir. And I know we've talked about different ones in the past, but we'll go ahead and I'll ask you Michael's question and see if maybe some other things come to mind. Michael Strong asks, can each of you speak about your experiences over the years working with and around the Armstrong family?
Well, I mean, I was the first time I was ever around Bullet Bob and his family. They come to Tennessee. Robert Fuller was the booker, and they all lived out. It was off of Bellmead Road or somewhere over that way, the Iroquois apartments. And there was a kid. You remember Rip Smith? Anyway, he was young. He never did go nowhere. He quit the business well, but he was amateur wrestler and everything. Really good people too. But anyway, we would go with Bob and Robert, and Bob had played the bongos. You know, I mean, it was fun. And anyway, you know, I kind of kayfabe my business. You know, I mean, away from Jerry Jarrett. Anyway, we might have smoked a little weed in the car or something. And you bringing that up just made me think about it. I shared an apartment with Rip over in the Iroquois apartments where they all live. We played tennis with Gail and Bob. I mean, the kids, we'd play tennis with them. And but anyway, Robert Fuller, Jared got on to him about something about smoking or something. And Robert Fuller, he said, well, you goody two-shoes, boy. Tommy Rich smokes too. My next conversation, Jared said, come here a minute, Tommy, I want to talk to you. He said, do you smoke weed? I knew that was a loaded question. I said, I don't know why. You said you smoke with him. I said, well, if he told you that, then it's probably the truth because I did. You know, yeah, but I knew it was a loaded question when he asked. But anyway, big shout out to Robert.
I don't know why. That's awesome. Doug, would you Armstrong stories?
One of the first times that I had pleasure, which I'd met Bob when I was, say, 10 or so, when I went to, when my dad was working Florida territory, like I think myself and Brian, I think Bob brought Brian, and my dad brought myself and Ron Fuller, and they took us out on a deep sea fishing deal when my dad worked for Ron Fuller down there in Florida, in Florida territory, which Bob was the booker, and Bob was smart. A lot of people, I think, a lot do know this and a lot don't. Actually, also, Bob was a really smart fella and everything as far as wrestling mind and mentality and everything. And but I met Bob, like I said, when I was 10 years old, and then I had the opportunity, first time working around him with him was when Eddie went to Continental and everything, and you know, he'd bring Bob in every once in a while and everything. And I loved Bob. Bob was a great guy, and I met during that time, I'd met Scott when I was down there. Scott was just starting, like a lot of people don't know, like Brad helped me so much when I started for UWF. My dad helped Scott a whole lot when Scott had just started. Bob put my dad in a program with Scott for I think they call it like the U.S. Junior Heavyweight title down there in the territory at the time. And my dad worked with Scott for about 3 or 4 months straight and everything. Scott's always told me how much my dad helped him. And I know he thought a lot of my dad and everything. My dad thought a lot of Scott. But our families really meshed and worked. All of us kind of all worked together. And, man, man, they're a great family. I mean, me and Brian were right at the same age, and Brad and Eddie was right at the same age and everything. I love Brad. Brad helped me so much. And I was around Stevie probably less than I was any of them. But, I mean, he was always nice to me when I was around him. But, man, just family, a great family, and great as far as working-wise, a great family as far as being great people, even a greater family. I love the Armstrongs.
Hey, I got two quick funny stories about Bullet Bob. It's this Stan Hansen's in this one. We wrestled in Rome, Georgia one night. So me and Scrappy McGowan, you remember Scrappy McGowan, he was a referee.
Yeah.
And, so we went to Rome, got back, and we drank a couple of beers. And anyway, Bob had the big New York, 9 plus. But the window didn't roll about halfway down on them. And so anyway, we got back, and Scrappy McGowan went to throw his beer bottle out. Stan Hansen was in the front with it. When he did, it hit that damn window and bounced back in the car. Bob looked, and it was on the Bob looked around and seen him. He said, before he could say anything, he was ready to cut a promo on Scrappy, I'm sure. And Stan Hansen started laughing. I got tickled and Stan laughed. Well, I knew he was mad. I started laughing. By the time it was over, everybody was laughing, and Bob just ended up shaking his head about it. Bob even laughed. It was funny. Yeah.
That's awesome. I grew up watching Memphis and Continental. Was a big fan of the Armstrongs. Grew up on the Bullet with the mask and being a baby face. And then when I get to college, the whole Smoky Mountain thing's going on, and Bob comes to town as a heel along with Brian. And that to me was some of the most entertaining. Seeing Bob Armstrong's a heel, and he was so good at it, those promos and everything. It was awesome. And
that's what I was going to say, Gene, and I was involved in that. And that was cool to me just to be around Bob, because I loved, y'all are going to laugh at this, but I loved just to hang out with Bob. Bob was, like Tommy said, Bob was funny, though, and cool and stuff. And to go out with him, oh, man, you couldn't have no better of a time with anybody now. But Bob was from A to Z, wasn't he, Tommy? He liked to have a good time and everything. And I loved Bob. I had so much respect for Bob, and he liked to have a good time. And, I love to talk with Bob. Bob was.
Yeah, I love the Armstrongs. I love them. We used to wrestle Continental. We wrestled in Pensacola where there's this old campground that was shut down. Well, Johnny, my cousin Johnny Rich, he had a 250 Enduro and a 3-wheeler. Anyway, we'd go to this campground and shut down, and we'd go back. It was on the bay. And we'd go back and camp for the weekend. And I remember talking about Brian. We'd get you remember in football you play bull in the ring?
Yeah.
Well, Brian, he would get in the middle, and he'd come charging. You'd either slam him or hip toss him, and then he would come and come. I mean, he just kept coming to us. We was all blowed up. Yeah, they were good, man. I love them.
So, Moon, okay.
My story, though.
Oh, yeah.
We're in Charleston, West Virginia. Huntington, West Virginia. Remember when Briscoe said, talking about when I busted that window out, jumped on it? Well, same place, but a different time. Brad, me, maybe Nick Patrick, and Bullet come in. Well, Michael Hayes and Big Terry, they were sitting next to us, and then there were 2 ladies there sitting next on the next table. Well, all of a sudden you hear one rip. I mean, big old loud thing. Hayes, I'll never forget it. Michael Hayes said, "Bullet, you better stop that." When he did, Bullet come up out of that chair and Michael Hayes looked like a drum major. You know how to kick his knees up in there. But he was backpedaling. He wasn't front pedaling.
Yeah.
Backpedaling. But Brad around Bob's arm trying to hold him back. Daddy, don't get it. Michael Hayes never did say nothing bad to Bob again.
No, I couldn't say that ended no way but bad for Michael.
Oh, yeah. It was, you know, I thought it was fun. I mean, watching Mike backpack. Yeah, I thought
That's awesome. So our next listener, who identifies himself as Moondog Scott, asks, Doug, you were in USWA in 1991 during the time that Sabu and his partner Judge Dredd came in. Did you work with them any? What can you tell us about Judge Dredd, and why in the world did they call Sabu Samu on TV and refer to him as a Samoan when he came out wearing a turban?
That's for some reason I thought that's what Sabu called himself at first, but maybe they was just wrong. But yeah, I worked with Sabu on the loop, I think, like a week or two there when he was here. But also you left out Rob come in with them also. Did you know that?
Yeah.
And
that week Rob, they showed up, Rob Zbyszko.
I wasn't sure. I thought it was Zbyszko or something. But they showed up, and I think was around the loop like 2 weeks. And I think I worked with Sabu both like in Louisville both times, maybe in Memphis and everything. But, I mean, man, Sabu was really cool back then, and I mean, me and him talked good, and I mean, he was really nice and everything. And his whole thing was, being wild like his uncle and everything. But I mean, he was anything, like I said, I remember talking to him like it was yesterday, but he was just, I mean, he was laid back. He wanted everything to be good, but like I just asked him, I didn't know what he had done. I had never seen him before. I said, well, I'll do whatever you want to do. And we had a finish to do. But other than that, like me and Tommy said before, it was our lead way to do whatever basically we wanted up to the finish to what the office wanted and everything. But I remember that really well, and it was really cool getting to work with him. And he just started like the year prior to that, I think.
And did those three all train together up there with the sheet?
Yeah.
Rob, Sabu, and Judge Dredd, or was he?
Sabu trained them.
Okay. I got
the sheet trained Sabu, and Sabu trained them.
I got you. That Rob, they had him feuding with some like young boy from Japan they had brought in. I forget what his real name is, but they were calling him like Dong Chow Mang or something like that. And they were having like these kickboxing type matches. And poor Zbyszko had zero charisma or personality those first couple of times. They cut to him sitting at the desk with Michael St. John and Dave, and they're asking questions. He's just like, yes, I'm going to try to use my karate and my wrestling skills Monday night to win this match.
But that goes back to Gene. That was his first time ever trying to do promos. And like I'm saying, these days, which everything's changed, the first thing I do is going to take you in a room and show you how to do a promo. But like me and Tommy said, as far as like you asking us about being trained, we was trained as far as like Tommy, I'd heard him before say, show me how to get a headlock, show him how to get an arm bar, show him how to get, well, that's the same way my dad done. But so like my dad did the deal about do the rows, the two front rows, take a flat back bump, do that till you was give out, then something else, then wind up,
run the ropes, go down, sitting out, doing that, run the ropes, and go into, it was just all wrestling.
Yeah, and then when you finally done that, finally a headlock, a tackle, just as simple as that, a tackle. And then after you've done that 100 times, and you just give out, well, give me a tackle, and I'm going to drop down, and you hit the ropes and come back across. But I mean, all what me and Tommy are saying sounds so simple, Gene, but you would be so blowed up by doing the reps that they would make you do. But the whole deal, and this is one of the deals, and I'll never forget this. And I thought, man, my dad, which I mean, I always knew my dad was tough and everything as far as wrestling and everything. But one time I was just as simple as this: headlock, take somebody over. I mean, and that was it. I mean, lock up, headlock, take somebody over. And one time I took him over, and when I planted this first knee, I didn't plant the second one. And if you don't plant the second one, what's going to happen? Somebody's head's going to go straight in the mat.
Yeah.
So what happened? My dad's head went straight in the mat. So quick as we get back to our feet, before like he would usually we'd talk for a second or he'd say something, we locked up. As quick as we locked up, before I could grab him in a headlock, he grabbed me in a headlock. But what he did was he never set either one of his knees. He just fucking took me straight over his back and drove my head straight in the mat. And then my body fell over. And as I was getting up, I was rubbing my head, and I thought, boy, I messed up. But that was, that was the old timers training. Yeah. It wasn't, somebody else would have cried or laid down and said their neck was hurt or their head was hurt. I thought, I screwed up. And that's him telling me, so I know to never do that. But that's taking care of people. I mean, you don't want to hurt nobody. I mean, we all got to get up. Tommy's got to get up and go wrestle tomorrow night. I got to get him go wrestle tomorrow night. I mean, that was, our livelihood. You didn't want to hurt nobody. I mean, there's a time somebody make us mad and we might want to punch them right in the freaking mouth. But, as far as us working and being professionals, we didn't want to hurt someone to cause them not to be able to get paid. Because, and knock on wood, during the time I'm talking about, me and Tommy was always together, we was on guarantees. And sometimes it wasn't signed contract, but it was guaranteed money for the weeks. And if that was ever going to come to an end, we would get like a 2-month notice that was coming to an end. So basically, it was actually like a contract. Because, I mean, I guess if you didn't take somebody's word, they could have screwed you a little bit. But knock on wood, me and Tommy didn't ever go through that. I mean, Tommy might have with somebody, but when he was with me, I think we was taken care of pretty well.
Even back then, I mean, it ain't so in today's world, but back then a handshake was a handshake, your word was your word. And as bad as we talk about some of the promoters sometimes, if they told you something, they pretty much did it till they's ready for you to leave or something. And like Dougie said, we were lucky. I mean, we always got a notice,
Yeah.
And now there's a few things, and Tommy probably laugh about this, but there's different things during your career and things happen. I remember one morning, most people didn't know where me and Tommy was at, but knock on wood, we was close enough with the office. The office could usually get a hold of us. This was even without cell phones, because they knew where our hangouts was and the hotels that me and Tommy would used to go to. So even on the days that we was off, that they knew how to get a hold of us. So one morning, me and Tommy, we probably hadn't been asleep about, I don't know, 2 or 3 or 4 hours, not very many hours, but anyway, it was early in the morning, about 9 or something, but we've been up pretty much most of the night, and we got a call, and I answered the phone. It was the office, and they said, Doug said, Tommy, there we? I said, yeah. And they said, let me talk to him. I said, Tommy. And he said, what? I said, it's the office here. And I handed him the phone. I thought, I don't even know. This don't even sound right, because they'd call us and ask me about something, or ask him about something, but I knew something sounded a little bit off. But they said, Tommy, we got to, you need to get Doug to bring you over here to the office. Tommy said, what for? And this is one of these deals that I could tell by Tommy's voice, what's happening here? Mm-hmm. Remember when the IRS called Tommy to the wrestling office, and they was just wanting to confirm some stuff from Tommy's dealings with the IRS, and I thought, oh my God, I remember him hanging up the phone, him looking at me. We was both sitting on the side of the bed, and we're facing each other just like we are right now. We're facing each other, and I said, is this going to be okay, Tommy? And he said, I don't know. But
in other words, I was forked. I was well done.
But that was one of the mornings. Everything was going good. The houses was good. Everything was drawing good. And all of a sudden, you get that call in the morning that we sure wasn't expecting. And I said, "Damn, Tommy, what are we gonna do?" He said, "Well, we're gonna get up about an hour. We need to go by the office and see if we can figure this out." And I popped, which I didn't know what to think at that point, but we got it figured out. So that was a good thing. Yeah,
we was in Louisville, Kentucky, exactly where that happened at. Jerry got it straight. I mean, he did. Yeah. I mean, I had to say. I mean, but Jerry was always good. But yeah, I learned kind of like driving. When you got driver's license, which I ain't had none since they put pictures on them. But I learned it ain't a right; it's a privilege to have a driver's license. And the same with the IRS. just because I pay sales tax at the store and stuff, that don't mean I'm paying income tax.
Right.
See, that was my logic. I'm already paying taxes. Because back then, they didn't take taxes out on us. We were like self-employed, and you're supposed to keep up with that yourself. And shoot, I was about probably 20 when that happened. Maybe 19. They got me quick. Yes, I've been on the run for IRS for quite a while, but they caught up with me, and I paid my dues. And now
Tommy got them
paying me, so it's all good. What goes around comes around.
Yeah, Tommy got them straight, got everything straightened out. And like you said, with that little ordeal, Jared helped. That was just a call we got one morning. Like I said, we got a bunch of calls we didn't realize was coming, but that was one of the ones that we really scratched our head about and had to make sure we got it took care of pretty quick.
But at the end of the day, when they caught up with me, like some of them folks you see for evading taxes, all it cost me was a house and a car. So I come really good.
Wow.
Yeah.
We'll do a couple more here.
And look, Gene, a lot of people wouldn't say that, but Tommy would say that, and he's talking about a $250,000 or $300,000. Now it would be a $500,000 or $600,000 home and a nice car and 5 acres of premium land that would probably bring you now $1 million. Wow. So Tommy's got a great attitude about all of it. That's why I'm saying you can be around Tommy and nothing bothers him.
Tommy has a great attitude about everything. We're going to have some questions left over for next week, but we'll do a couple more here.
I could be having a bad day, and he'll always tell me it's going to get better or something. I think I got a lot of that from him. It is what it is, and it's going to get better. Can't get no worse.
Whew, I've said that a couple of times and regretted it, but I've learned to not challenge destiny on that kind of interesting question. Scuba Steve asks, if you could go back and relive just one day out of your wrestling career, what day would you choose? Not to change anything, just to go back and experience it again with all the knowledge and life experiences you've had since. That may be one we have to come back next week with the answer. That's a deep question.
That is a deep question because there's so many thoughts when you said that to run, where do you want to go with this? I mean, there's so many things here in the States that I've loved as far as doing, and as many things. I mean, there's a ton of things that me and Tommy have done together, a ton of things I've done with my dad and my brother, and there's a ton of things overseas that I was involved with, and one of them because
he done a lot in the States, but he was the booker over in Japan. He ran the business for him. I mean, that's a big. I mean, to me, if you're asking me what I think is the most impressive thing about Doug Gilbert, to me, everything's impressive because Doug's always been my brother. But for me, being his brother, that would be what I would say, because I mean, he booked the territory over there, and a lot of people can say that. So that's a big accomplishment, I think.
But it's so many, Gene. Like I said, man, I had so many highs with Tommy here during our runs and at different times, and working against Tommy and everything. But there's so many, and I can't even imagine, if I'm sitting here saying this, I can't imagine what's going through Tommy's head, because now think of the highlights that's got to be of Tommy's career. I think of mine. I think there's just minuscule a few compared to what has got to be going through Tommy's head. And I mean, like I said, I loved all the stuff I've done in Japan, but I loved the like I was in a match with, and man, this is just cool. I was in a match in Cork and Hall, a retirement match with the great Kabuki and Terry Funk in a 6-man tag, and sold out. And man, that's just being in the ring with those two fellas. And you can ask Tommy, because I know Tommy's got a ton of respect for Terry also, and I'm sure he was friends with Kabuki, because Kabuki was always a great guy and everything. But man, just there's stuff like that, but there's stuff here that means so much to me as far as at the Mid-South Coliseum, where everybody's got their own things. At the Louisville Gardens, people don't talk about the Louisville Gardens that much, but man, me and Tommy done so much at the Louisville Gardens, and my brother with me and Tommy and everything. But there's so much like that, Gene. Oh, we could talk for 3 podcasts about just that one question there. And like I said, I ain't even let Tommy talk yet. So Tommy,
I think I know what Tommy's answer is going to be, if he'll let me guess.
You might know one of them.
Hey, but first,
I think I know the biggest one.
That last match was in Japan. I mean, with Kabuki. Now, I wrestled when Kabuki come over to the States. I wrestled Kabuki and Gary Hart. You remember Gary Hart?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, and you talk about a smart man to the business too. I mean,
Oh.
I know Gary Hart too, but I got to know Kabuki then, and just what a great guy he is. I mean, I just want to give some love out to Kabuki.
And you know what, Tommy? A lot of people wouldn't think this, but man, I really listened every time I was around Gary Hart to him and looked up to him. Man, he was a different. I think a lot of people was scared of Gary Hart's mental aspect, or just scared of him like he was a freaking monster or something. But he was always so nice to me. But I mean, I was really respectful to him, and I would ask him different things. But man, he was a smart guy.
Yeah, and he didn't mind. Like I got along with him, well, Kabuki both real well. But yeah, he was very smart to the business, you know, and he was just a little high strung, you know. Sometimes, you know, he might not know how to take him, but he was always nice to me too. And I really enjoyed that. That's one that stands out. But which one was you gonna say, Gene?
I'm thinking you would want to go back and relive, and we touched on this recently, actually.
80.
The day you won the 6-man tag team titles with Tojo Yamamoto and George Goulas. I mean, that has to be like tippy top, right?
And yours would probably be winning the prettiest ball head day.
I'm pretty hot that I haven't won it yet, honestly. That will be the great day. But
hey, ladies and gentlemen, but don't think nothing. He ain't been like that. Don't think that just happened to him. I seen his baby pictures. He was bald then.
Had about a good 4-year run in there where I had hair.
Gene, if you let me speak, see, just because I say something, don't mean to interrupt me. But anyway, it would have to be, I mean, like Dougie said, there's so many, you know, and I got to wrestle the best that comes. Ken Patera, King Kong Mosca, Blackjack Lanza with Bobby Heenan. You know, I got to wrestle the best, and Stan Hansen. You know, so, but the biggest, Abdullah the Butcher, one big match with him. Of course, he beat my daylights out of me at the first one, but he give it back. And then, but Harley Race, winning world heavyweight title, that's what you work for in this business. And, you know, me and Dougie, we were the last ones to draw money in the territory. With the USWA, they was the last ones to shut down, and we did the deal with PG-13. Come on, man. We could work with a broomstick. You know what I'm saying? Hey, Wolfie D! Hey, that Wolfie D on the podcast, Gene. I know you talk to him every now and then. Yeah. I
do. I'll tell him you send your love.
To me, that stands out in my mind, though. Just being the last ones to do it. And Jamie Wolfie, they both worked their butts off. That's when we were seeing everything passes, moving on to the cable TV and just city to city. So, that's a big thing. But that's your goal. You get this business, you don't even think about that at first.
And here's the thing. Tommy's talking about that in the territory days, and that was the end of them, Gene. But the last 3 things that really drew money, I worked against Brian, Tommy worked against Brian, me and Tommy worked against PG. And if you ask the guys booking it, and if you look at it, that was really the last 3 angles that drew money there. So I'm real proud of that, and I think Tommy is too. But we all busted our butts and everything. But that's cool that you can think that was the last territory other than the Superstation territories, the 2 big guys, and we were still holding our own.
They was running city to city. They wasn't going back to them same towns every week. They was going here. They was going there. So, and that's what I'm saying. To be, to be, and that's a big shout out to all you Memphis wrestling fans too, and anybody else that's seen it that supported it. Because they supported to the end.
Right.
We gave up on them before they gave up on us. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Memphis fans turned out in Louisville, Kentucky. That was, to me, I enjoyed wrestling there as much as I did in Memphis, or anywhere else I wrestled. As far as back then, the size buildings. I mean, them Louisville fans, they would be there kicking it out. I mean, full. If you look around, it was about 3/4 full. We'd think, what the hell we doing wrong? Because it was always full. And just the Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, just great wrestling fans. Because they backed to the end.
And Gene, what we said at the end, that was every Monday night Memphis, every Tuesday night Louisville, every Wednesday night Evansville, every Saturday night Nashville, Thursday and Friday spot shows. So, like Tommy said, that was them. We had, like I said, there's great fans everywhere, but we had some great fans around here. And like Tommy has always said before, and because he gives it to the fans, it's true. They would not be a Wildfire, Tommy Rich, or Dangerous Doug Gilbert if it wasn't for the fans. And I'm thankful that Tommy's got to do what he loves all his life, and I've got to do what I love all my life. And now we get to go out and see the old school fans, and we still get in the ring every once in a while, and we do appearances, and we love seeing the people. And Tommy would be the first one to tell you, I used to be the one that, I don't want to say it was shy about meeting the fans, but I'd rather kind of stay to myself. But now it's actually cool for me to getting out and getting to meet the people and see the people and everything.
He just didn't like me getting all that love from him fans, so he had to come on out there and get him some.
There you go.
So we're a little over on time. Do you want to answer one more question, or you want me to put it in the pot with next week?
If you got plenty more questions, you can put it in the pot with next week, and we can answer some more.
Yeah, we've got enough to do another show next week. So
good deal.
All right, man, I'll put it there because I don't want to rush through this question. It's pretty interesting. So
okay, good. Man, I love answering the questions, and me and you and Tommy just talking about getting off on different things and talking. But listen, like I said, anything you need from Wildfire Dangerous, you can get a hold of Gene at the podcast, and he'll hook you up with us and everything. If it's appearances, if it's wrestling, whatever it is you need from Wildfire, myself, we'll be willing to do it. And like I said, we've still got our Memphis Mafia merchandise T-shirts. We've got our Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert, Uncrowned King of Professional Wrestling 30th year anniversary on Amazon. But if you need anything, like I said, all you got to do is go through Gene, and you can get to me and Tommy, and we'll do whatever we can do for you. And Tommy, is there anything you'd like to tell the people before we sign off?
Yeah, I'd just like to tell everybody, the good Lord willing, the creeks ain't rising. I still love to get in the ring and wrestle some. I can't kick it like I used to, but I still love to come wrestle in front of the fans, sign the autographs, and so does Dougie. And like I said, wrestling booking, signings, personal appearance, virtual signing, whatever you need, just give us a holler, because ain't none of us promised tomorrow. So what you think you want later, you might ought to get done today. So give us a call if it's involving Dougie or myself, or even Gene, man. He'll do a cameo. We here to please, and thank y'all for tuning in and everything. And it's always a pleasure. Thank you, guys.
You ain't kidding. Peace, guys. We're out.
In the heart of Tennessee, born with pride, Doug and Tommy taking rings in stride. Memphis legends never backing down. Wrestling warriors, they wear the crown. You scurry away, glory in their veins. Fighting legends breaking chains. In the squared circle they made their name. Podcast champions, it's their claim to fame. On the mic they roar, on the map they soar. Dangerous conversations, fans wanting more. Podcast kings ruling the waves. Memphis wrestling raising the stage. From title belts to Hall of Fame, Doug and Tommy carved the name. Fists of fury and hearts of gold. Every story, every fight retold. Tales of glory, laughed and cried. Tennessee warriors with hearts open wide. In the ring or on the air, legends living without a care. On the mic they roar, on the mat they soar. Dangerous conversations, fans wanting more.